to Rega Achievers Educational Limited, presenting Royal Tutors, your trusted support for brain-friendly, high-impacting learning. In my previous video, I started this anthology, Power and Conflict Anthology, and today we're going to be looking at another comparison between two poems. And the topic is nature's indifference to humans, storm on the island versus exposure. We're looking at nature attacking soldiers and civilians alike. First off, in Storm on the Island by Seamus Heaney. In this poem, nature is presented as an uncontrollable force attacking a community, and the key ideas are the storm is described almost like an enemy in war. We are bombarded by the empty air. Nature feels violent and aggressive even though it has no intention, and the islanders prepare for it, but they are still powerless. Then what's the indifference? The indifference is that nature is not targeting them personally. It just happens. So the phrase "it is a huge nothing that will fear" shows that the storm has no emotions or purpose. Then humans are scared of something that doesn't even care they exist. Number 2, which is exposure by Winfred Owen. In this poem, nature is shown as a greater enemy than war itself. The key ideas are soldiers suffer more from weather than bullets, but nothing happens. This is a quote from the poem. The cold, wind, and snow slowly destroy them. Nature attacks without mercy. The indifference is that nature does not care that they are soldiers, merciless eyes east winds that knife us. The suffering feels pointless. Nature doesn't choose sight. Even death feels meaningless. Then the comparison is that nature attacking everyone, like that's the comparison. Then similarity is that in both poems, nature is powerful and uncontrollable. Nature is described using violent imagery like war, storm, bombardment, wind, knives. The indifference is that nature does not care if people are civilians, storm on the island, or soldiers. Exposure. Humans are shown as small, weak, and vulnerable. The difference: storm on the island focuses on civilians facing a storm. Fear is immediate and intense, while in exposure focuses on soldiers in war. Suffering is slow, ongoing, and hopeless. Now let's look at these questions together. I'm going to also give a grade 9 analysis of this particular poem. It says, compare how poet presents nature as indifferent to humans in Storm on the Island and Exposure. Now let's take a look at this. Both Storm on the Island by Seamus Heaney and Exposure by Winfred Owen present nature as a powerful and indifferent force that affects humans regardless of their situation. While Heaney explores the impact of a storm on a civilian community, Owen focuses on soldiers suffering in wartime. However, both poets emphasize that nature does not discriminate and is ultimately more powerful than human life. In Storm on the Island, Heaney presents nature as violently attacking the islanders, yet without intention or emotion. The metaphor "we are bombarded by the empty air" compares the storm to war, suggesting that the civilians are under attack. However, the phrase "empty air" highlights the lack of a real enemy, reinforcing the idea that nature is indifferent rather than deliberately hostile. This creates a sense of fear rooted in uncertainty, as the islanders cannot fight back against something that has no physical form or purpose. Furthermore, the concluding line It is a huge nothing that we fear, emphasizes the paradox of fearing something that does not consciously exist, reinforcing nature's emotional detachment from human suffering. Similarly, in Exposure, Owen portrays nature as a merciless force that causes more suffering than the war itself. The personification in merciless east winds that knife us gives the impression of violence, yet the repeated refrain, but nothing happens, suggests a lack of progress or meaning in the soldier's suffering. Unlike a human enemy, nature does not act with intention or strategy. Instead, it slowly destroys the soldiers without purpose. This cyclical structure of the poem reflects the endless endurance of harsh weather, reinforcing the idea that nature's indifference leads to prolonged and meaningless suffering. Owen suggests that despite being trained for combat, soldiers are powerless against the natural world. Both poems use violence imagery to present nature as an attacking force, yet they ultimately reveal that this attack is not deliberate. In both poems, nature is indifferent. It does not distinguish between civilians and soldiers, nor does it act with motive. However, while Ernie focuses on the immediate fear experienced by a community under siege, Owen highlights the prolonged psychological and physical suffering of soldiers exposed to relentless weather. This difference in perspective deepens the reader's understanding of nature's indifference, showing that it can cause both sudden terror and slow destruction. In conclusion, both Ernie and Owen present nature as a dominant and indifferent force that undermines humans' control and significance. Whether through the sudden violence of a storm or the enduring harshness of a cold weather, both poems demonstrate that nature operates without regard for human life, attacking soldiers and civilians alike. Ultimately, the poem suggests that human struggles, whether domestic or wartime, are insignificant when faced with the overwhelming power of the natural world. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. Also, if you want me to make a video on any comparison from the same power and conflict anthology, please do what to type it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.